And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. So what's up, Daniel? It's Gerald Glassford. Come right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Inside Sports, Fantasy Football. Also as well, Joe Soro is here. He is out and about, probably on the mobile right there. So he is here, but you can catch him at Ox1947. At LakersBall.com, plus his company that he owns, Simblades with Y.com. To the side of me here is a great YouTuber indeed. Please go ahead and check out what he's doing today at _legend350 on YouTube. And diagonally down that way, sort of, kind of, is of course the man behind at @report_court. He is our guru of the NBA draft, along with his good friends at the Upside Swings NBA Draft Podcast. It is Stone Hansen at @report_court on Twitter. Also, as well, I want to give a big shout out to John Costa, Clutch Talk and Lakers Corner, Jamie Sweet, and Laker Tom at LakerHolics.com. Daniel Barry Sports Highlights, yo! Also, as well, of course, our good friends Empire Jeff TV. He's had some good streams lately as well. Also, Lakers in 5. They have been very fruitful as well. Great time of the year for us here in Lakers land. We always get the numbers up right around this time, and we're very appreciative of it. Also, as well, John McCallion. All these great channels you need to support, plus also what we do right here at the Lakers Fast Break by hitting that like and that subscribe button so you get the latest notifications on when we give you another great show right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. Well, the Lakers, you didn't know, everyone, but today is Family Deal Day in El Segundo. That's right. Family Deal Day, as both James and the James family, Bronny James Jr. and his father, Dad, LeBron James, both signed deals today or agreed to terms with the Los Angeles Lakers. For Bronny, it's a 4-year deal, 4th-year option, 3 years guaranteed, 4th-year option, $7.9 million on that one. But the big one everybody's talking about is LeBron James on a 2-year deal, 2nd-year player option, maximum contract at $104 million. The Lakers also wanted to go ahead and make sure we put out there that they hired 2 assistant coaches, Scotty Brooks and Nate McMillan, former head coaches in the league, and wanted to go ahead and let you know as well later this week they go out. The Laker rookies, Bronny James and Dalton Connect, they play on the 6th at Chase Center, 1:30 p.m. on ESPN. We'll try to cover it with our playback.tv as well. But it is, of course, the Lakers, LeBron James signing a $104 million contract. And here today to discuss that, plus some other little tidbits out there in NBA free agency I wanted to go ahead and touch on, including one of our guests here, one of our panelists, his team, one of his other teams, the way they've actually changed their roster with a big loss, a historic loss for them as well. I want to go ahead and touch on that. But first up, I want to go ahead and talk to the Legend 350 about the James gang signing Lakers contracts today. Legend, I know we've talked about on the show, a little bit of a surprise that it wasn't a full 3-year deal. Maybe we're just foreseeing, or he's just foreseeing the end of his career. Maybe he won't play till the end as far as Bryce is concerned, but right now he's going to be playing. Right now he's still putting the Lakers on notice, and right now he still has all the control over the Lakers with a 2-year contract with a 2nd-year player option at the max. Legend, your thoughts on LeBron James signing his agreement today?
Well, I'm not surprised that he went and took the mat, especially after they striked out on getting James Harden, Clay, or Buddy from New Orleans. So I'm not surprised he went and took it. But a part of me was wondering a little bit, was this part of his tactic, or where he did that on purpose so he can try to cover himself. So if they didn't get anybody, he can't take the blames. I didn't know if he did it on purpose or did he really try to help out by taking the pay cut. But I'm not surprised he took the mats, but they didn't get anyone. I ain't surprised at that.
Okay. And what about with Bronny? You know, he is, like I said, the number 55 pick in the draft, getting a full 4-year contract, 4th-year option, 4th-year team option, but 3 years guaranteed. Your thoughts on Bronny James? That pick so late. Obviously, it has to be a lot of influence from his dad in getting that.
Well, first thing I said, the power of having a daddy who is one of the greatest to play the game right there. Um, Me personally, I still don't feel like he should be in the NBA right now. But daddy got him there. Daddy calls the shots, it looks like. They call him Lee Jim for a reason, so he's showing the power of being Lee Jim right now. And
There you
I'm really
go.
surprised he got that multi-year contract. I've never seen a 55 pick get that. So
Yeah, well, that's obviously another subject that we could touch on as well. Great to always have you here, legend. Also here today, good man indeed. He is at report_court on Twitter. Stone has been tweeting about the direction of the Lakers all day. So I encourage you to check out his thoughts, what if he says here now and what he says on Twitter. It is Stone Hansen from the Upside Swings NBA Draft Podcast. Stone, great to have you here. Always rocking the Vans. I love Vans. Problem is I can't wear Vans anymore with my feet, the knees, man. They just because one thing they just don't make is thick soles. I need support. No. And that's the only thing, man. My slip-ons, my last slip-ons I got were like Star Wars TIE Fighter Vans. Really cool, really great. Wore them twice. Really hurt my feet. But
yeah, I got like 20 pairs. I can't stop buying them. It's bad. I have an addiction at this point.
Well, my first pair, I went to the Del Amo Mall in Torrance and got a one with like tropical Hawaiian. Oh, just badass. But yeah, I digress. But LeBron James signing the max, pretty much what was expected. There was time where he thought he may, make a discount, or he may ask for a discount instead to bring someone here to help the Lakers with their salary cap issues, which again, technically right now, to give everybody an update, I've been tweeting it out at Lakers Fast Break, retweeting Bobby Marks saying that, and if you're adjusting right now, the Lakers are currently, as it stands, about projected to be $1 million over the second apron. They can make some small adjustments and get back under that. But the point is, they're pretty much done unless they make some changes with their roster. It's LeBron James, my friend, one more time around with still full control of what he has for his future.
Yeah, Pelinka just, I think this is not LeBron's fault, in my opinion. And look,
no, why would it be LeBron's fault? That's what's given to him. It's what's offered. Why not take it? More power to him.
Exactly. Like nobody, if it wasn't LeBron, nobody would have an issue with somebody taking the max that they earn. Every max player, it's known that they're just going to get a max. And with LeBron, he gave, I think, a fair window of opportunity for Pelinka to act on. This to me was totally fair. He gave him a deadline telling him that if you want to improve this roster, you need to make it happen within this amount of time. And Pelinka didn't do it. Pelinka couldn't do it. And this to me is fully on the Lakers front office. We had an opportunity to add an impact player, and we did not. And you can look at a couple of different ways. People are going to say, oh, they couldn't close with Clay. Totally fair. At the same time, you could also say that maybe they shouldn't have put all their eggs in the Clay basket, because now as they were trying to wait on him and negotiate for him, during that time, basically the market of names dried up and they had no focus to anybody else. They had no eyes for anyone else. You could have taken Valanciunas, and people might not like that name as much, but it's a rotation player. It's one more rotation player that the Lakers didn't have, and now they can't have. And DeRozan obviously would have been, I think, a good value, even if the fit was weird. Obviously, he's not going to take that little, it sounds like. So this is totally on Pelinka. He had the opportunity to make this team better, did not. It sounds from the press conferences that he's been doing the past 3 or 4, sounds like they're really leaning into player development and this whole idea of, internal growth. If you're going to do that, get rid of LeBron and AD, because you're now trying to toe 2 different timelines that don't fit. and you're trying to thread a needle that does not exist. So I'm totally against how this front office has been running, the complete ineptitude of being able to get things done, and I'm just as frustrated with ownership because as this is taking place, they're doing just as much as Palinka, which is nothing, and they're letting it happen. So I am frustrated from the top down, and this team is going to run back what was unsuccessful last year as teams have gotten better. So I would not expect this team to make the play in next year.
Very well said, my friend. I know you voiced the frustrations for many fans out there, NBA and Lakers fans out there, and I concur with it. I've been retweeting and liking a lot of your retweets out there as far as your tweets and your thoughts on at report_court. You're venting, and it's great to see you vent, my friend, because you voice a lot of common sense out there, in which a lot of people are really appreciating, including us here at the Lakers Fast Break. And also here today, a guy who also vents his frustration out here on the Lakers Fast Break from time to time. He's been known to do that occasionally. Sometimes it goes viral. Sometimes it actually gets banned on TikTok. It's a good man indeed. It is, of course, the guy behind Simblades, Simblades with a Y.com, and of course, also as well, LakersBall.com is Ox1947. It is Joe Soro. Joe, the only thing for me, again, was a slight surprise that he only committed to 2 years. But then again, it just leaves all the control in LeBron James's hands, Joe.
That was a positive. I was worried that it would be 3 years, and I thought he would take it. But apparently he probably knows that this is the end as well. And he's going to have to hear the noise for 1 year less than he could have. Not blaming LeBron James. If you're looking at it from the standpoint that the ownership allowed him to do what he's been doing, I would say you're right, because Jeannie and Rob should have final authority on any player saying that you should do certain things for their organization. However, I can't keep playing this blame game with everything in life. It gets exhausting. We blame presidents, we blame owners for bad markets, bad economy, bad decisions made across the country, bad decisions made in another country. You know, at the end of the day, you need to blame the main source at all times. And what is the main source? It's different for exactly. You're blaming all these guys. First of all, Jeannie is the owner. She pays Rob. Rob is in charge of personnel, not LeBron James. And they spent how many hours trying to get a player who can't play in the NBA? We discussed this for weeks. Your focus, you're asking why they didn't do something. Well, folks, maybe if they weren't focused so much on getting someone so that LeBron can have his candy, maybe they would have spent more time getting the players that they need. Am I speaking out of term here? Why is there so much attention towards something that's irrelevant to winning? That's what these guys did. That's what they're doing, including LeBron James, because he wants this hallmark moment. And it seems very similar to the Timothy Mozgov and Luol Deng time, where you're sitting there scratching your head going, what the hell did they just do? How are you going to win with Mozgov and Deng? Deng was done, and Mozgov averaged 1 point and 1 rebound during the entire 2016 playoff run for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Less than a bucket and 1 rebound for a guy that's 10 feet tall. This seems very, very similar to me. It's very similar. It's the death kill. It's the death kneel, I should say, because these guys can't kill anything. They're cowards. They would kneel. And they're all, in a lot of ways, responsible for this. But at the end of the day, the person who presses the button, Jeannie Buss, is to blame. She owns the team. She makes the ultimate decision. She doesn't have a board of directors that she has to go to unless they want to sell the team or deal with shares and all that garbage. But as far as basketball personnel, she's the head honcho. So if you all are looking for the blame, if that's something you like to do, well, then you guys should be focused on that person. And you should put the pressure on that person, because that person is not really a good person. That person has done things beyond basketball that has made you scratch your head, considering her wealth, her resources, and what she has. A 10 to an $11 billion team. Now, people are like, wait, Joe, what are you talking about? They're not worth 10 to 11 billion. Yes, they are. Someone would buy the Lakers for 10 to 11 billion. They're worth 7, according to the numbers, but someone would buy them for 10 to 11. That's how big this organization is. But they're operating under these rules that they all voted for. They didn't even hesitate last year to say yes to. We discussed this. If you go back to the show, we discussed this right after it happened. What the hell just happened? They didn't negotiate one day for this deal? So it just keeps adding to it. It adds to it. Why? I don't know. I'm going to take a guess. They didn't want any problems. They didn't want any rifts. They didn't want any stoppages so that everybody can be happy. Folks, countries weren't formed. Families weren't dominant without the forging of blood. Now, I'm not saying go kill people, but when everything is always okay, that's usually not a good thing, because you don't get the greatness that way. You don't get the greatness that way. You have to go through some stuff. And right now, maybe that's that with the Lakers. Maybe they'll get their act together down the road. Maybe Jeannie will sell a team. I don't know. But right now, today, as of July 3rd, 2024, you guys are looking at the beginning of what will eventually be a team that will likely not make the playoffs next year.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is the Legend 350, Ox 1947, Stone Hansen with me. It's Gerald Glassford. Thank you again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. On that ominous note right there, the Legend, come back with you right now, my friend. I want to go ahead and hear your thoughts on this. Of course, Klay Thompson centers around a lot of what we're talking about here. Your opinion, because you are a really good follower. We talked about your thoughts on the Atlanta Hawks, but a team that you said you also follow, we've really not been able to talk with you about, because they haven't really had much to do, because they've been just trying to shed money left and right, is the Golden State Warriors. They're finally, as I mentioned before we went on the show, them and the Clippers are finally, for the first time in a long time, under the second apron, under the biggest amount of tax for the first time in a long time. But in order to do so, they had to part ways with longtime guard, stalwart shooter deluxe for them for so many years, Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson was also a key part of the inept offseason that the Lakers haven't gone through, because they, like Stone said it best, they put all their money and they put all their horses, or whatever the phrase you want to put into it, into the Klay basket. Your thoughts on what this does right now as far as the landscape, because it looks like the Lakers and the Warriors are a little bit going down on the downswing, while so many other teams in the Western Conference are moving on up.
Well, for the Warriors, it's looking like you're going toward inching very close to that rebuilding mode. And now with Klay gone, it is looking like it's coming towards the end, especially now that it's coming out that, not sure if you guys heard, but like Draymond almost went to Memphis last year. So now I'm looking at the possibility of how much longer Steph going to stay here and stick with an organization that looks like it's going nowhere. How long will he be willing to stick this out, or do you want to try to retire as a Warrior or get one more crack at another championship? And this is signals going toward the very end. Right now, They look like they're a team that's going to probably be either A, in the play-in, or B, a lottery team. It'll be one or the other. They're
It's just
definitely not going to make the
interesting.
playoffs.
Well, I think the Warriors are the case example, Legend. I'll get it to you just a second, Stone. In regards to what the amount of tax money you pay over the course of years, how that build up. They've spent hundreds of millions of dollars paying taxes, just in taxes to the NBA. After a while, it builds up. And if you're not building a championship team continuously, or if you don't have the results continuously, it gets harder and harder to write those checks for those taxes. So I sense in Northern California that to be the case, Legend, that it's not just a case of the team getting older, less talented. It's also a situation where financially it just wasn't going to continue to work out.
Yeah, it just wasn't no point to keep paying that type of money when you're not finna win anything. And Clay was just not what he used to be. And I think that's one thing I think would really hurt Clay the most last season is not accepting that what he used to be, them days are over. And I think he's having a hard time accepting that transition into the latter part of his career. And I think that's a wake-up call. He's going to eventually accept that Clay Thompson of the past is just no longer here.
Do you think the Lakers may have lucked out in him not accepting the proposed 4-year, $80 million deal and instead taking the deal with the Dallas Mavericks? Do you think that the Lakers might have lucked out in that fashion?
Me personally, knowing how Clay looks, I feel like the Lakers should have been okay with missing on that one. I can understand why they wanted him, but at the same time, I feel like you ain't really missing out a lot because it's not like you getting the Clay that won all them championships. You're getting a Clay version who still shoot pretty good, but a lot of people don't realize there's like 5 people on the Lakers team right now that actually shot the three ball much better than Clay did. And his defense is not what it once was. He's a liability on defense now. So I feel like to me, that might be a blessing in disguise that you didn't get him.
Well, we'll see when he trots out there with Luka and Kyrie and see how they develop and work out with him on that end of the court as far as the defensive end, because it will be a problem defensively for this team at Dallas Mavericks going forward. But great to hear your thoughts on what's going on with the Warriors as well, Legend. But Stone, I bring it back to you, my friend. Again, the words you said were very pointed. The Lakers put their whole emphasis seemingly on something. Now, the trying to pivot deal, it's just not working. The speak that Rob Pelinka gives us about maybe focusing on the youth, it's just not going over well with fans because they want changes, they want additions, they want in LeBron and AD's small, ever shortening window to get something that can provide them comfort and knowing that they can also go ahead and put this out there as a competitive team in the Western Conference. But right now, you've seen no major changes, no major additions, no major upgrades outside of Dalton Connect. Right now, that could be a hard problem for the Los Angeles Lakers going forward this upcoming season, Stone.
And that's the issue. They're trying to toe the line of 2 different timelines when obviously it seems like LeBron and I would very much assume AD are wanting to contend, and it seems like the front office wants to start rebuilding while they're still on the roster. And they don't want to give up picks. They want to make sure that their future is insured, which is totally fine if you're going to be trading away your best assets to build up that pick trove. Obviously, we don't have our pick next year, so it makes it difficult to tank. But this is a poorly thought out strategy, and now very poorly executed because they couldn't close on Clay. You have assistant coaches that don't even want to come here. And look, at one time, and this was probably more so before my time. I'm sure Gerald and Joe could probably speak on it more, but I think the Lakers had a lot of sway to people that just wanted to be in LA and be with the Lakers. There was it was a huge brand. It was the coolest thing in the world was to be with the Lakers. That's dead now. That's completely dead. That doesn't exist. There is no Lakers mysticism anymore. There's no aura behind it. They're just as big as any other team. You could put them next to OKC. It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as Lakers in LA anymore in the flashing lights. That's gone. You could blame it on the city. You could blame it on the team. Doesn't matter. It doesn't exist anymore. And the Lakers, now that they have a front office that on top of all of that cannot close things, there's no incentive. It's a poorly ran organization that no longer has that mystic edge that they used to, and now they're paying the price because they're getting this. They're getting their plan Bs and everything, coaching, players, doesn't matter, but they're not able to land who they want, and it's becoming a real issue, and it's becoming another issue, especially with players, because it's not only their plan A's, it's their plan B's, plan C's. Every pivot they try to make, they can't execute, and they're falling short in every which way. They started their coaching search. They ended their coaching search, I should say, way too long into the game, because by the time they brought JJ in, JJ is focused on scouting for the draft because he has 1 week to do it. And then they expect, a coaching staff, but at the same time, they have to, confer with him on players that they're bringing in to see, how they're going to fit into their scheme and how he plans to use them. So they're stretching him very thin to start, which is that he's got his hands in too many different pots, because he can't focus on who he wants to bring in on the staff. He can't fully focus on who he's, who he has a say on for the scouting purposes, and what players to bring in free agency. They have to do one at a time, and as they're doing one, they're missing out on something else. And this could have been avoided had they hired JJ or whoever the hire was earlier on in the season, when they had more time to plan these things out. And now they're trying to do it on their feet, and they are paying the price. So it's poorly planned, poorly executed, and it's a complete mess and a failure of how to run an organization. And they're paying the price in every way, when it comes to players, coaches, management, everything. It sounds like they don't even have a player development coach, which JJ wanted to instill. How did he not have that for the past several years? It's just complete ineptitude in every which way, and it's frustrating.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is the legendary 50 Stone Hansen at report_court on Twitter, and Ox1947. Joe Soro is here as well. And Joe, let me get it back to you, my friend. The Lakers did add 2 new coaches. I know assistant coaches aren't big with you, but Nate McMillan and Scotty Brooks both bring several years, I think over 30 years. I think that's what the press release said, of NBA coaching experience to the league. So if you could touch on that, but also touch on what Stone said about the Lakers' real disappointment and how they've acted this offseason.
Well, that signing of Nate McMillan and Scotty Brooks might be the best acquisition of the summer. 2 former coaches. Scotty Brooks did take the Oklahoma City Thunder to the finals in 2012. Nate McMillan has lost jobs because he's too mean. At least that's what I heard. Going to be curious to see if Nate McMillan will receive a good response due to his old school, rough and tough, in your face kind of coaching. Scotty Brooks a little bit more assertive and quiet, but smart, but might not be the guy that can motivate and make you want to go through a brick wall. I think that's kind of what was his problem towards the end of his head coaching career. Yeah, I don't really value assistant coaches as much as most. I just don't see what they actually do that really benefits. Ultimately, they help out, but they're not the difference makers. I don't care who they are. Head coach, the decision maker there, is always going to be the key. And of course, the talent that you have on the court will dictate, how good that coach is a lot of times. You look at the greatest coaches of the last 40 years. Well, folks, you can argue that Popovich, Pat Riley, and Phil Jackson are the 3 best coaches of the last 40 years. And if you look at their talent pool, they have some of the greatest if not the greatest of all time, in there on the roster. Unfortunately, this team does not have that other than for maybe one player. LeBron James is still very, very good, but he's not who he was. And he's going to get worse because that's just how life goes. You have Anthony Davis, who's the only two-way player on this team at the moment. It doesn't look like they're going to be getting anybody else. And they're going to have to rely on Austin Reeves, who cannot play defense very well, or at least consistently. Rui, who's a good player, but not the guy that's going to make differences in an 82-game season and in the playoffs. You have D'Lo, who is an asset in so many areas, yet just isn't there when you need him either. And then you have, of course, the first-round pick in Dalton Connect. Sure, I thought that was actually, I should say that was probably the highlight of the offseason at this point. I think he'll play well, but can't expect the rookie to make that big of a difference on a team that is struggling with talent. A new coach, an old player, a player that will be old soon, but still good. And then everyone else is just role players hoping to play better than we need them to. And that's really what it is. And then you have to factor in that LeBron and AD are going to be playing in the Olympics, which means they're going to be tired coming into training camp. And the Lakers have had issues starting the season well. And it seems like everybody in the NBA improved except the Lakers and a few other teams. Therefore, the Lakers would have to surprise everyone by starting out well with all that going on. And, of course, we're going to have to deal with this constant father-son bullshit distracting us from the wins.
I wanted to go ahead and make sure everybody knows where they stand as of now. Thank you to Bobby Marks once again. I love these little highlights, these little snapshots, Legend. It gives you exactly for each and every team. He has that updated with as far as the roster, draft assets. It's a nice little snapshot. If there's anybody outside of @report_court and a Lakers Fast Break and @Joe Soro LFB to follow on Twitter, it would be Bobby Marks @BobbyMarks42 on Twitter. Legend, you see there, and I wanted to point out to Darren, they are, as of right now, with the $190 million salary after signing and agreeing with LeBron on his terms, they are technically a little over $1 million above the second apron. So all the restrictions, if they keep it as is into place as far as trades are restricted. Your draft in the future going forward will be restricted. So the Lakers do have to make some slight changes at the very least in order to get off that. Your thoughts, though, seeing this more as an outsider's perspective, and I like to bring in people who are not, just hardcore Laker fans sometimes, so they can see this objectively. You're seeing as far as the roster right there. Let's say they bring you in right now in El Segundo and say, you know what, Legend, we want you to help us out figuring out where can we go to next, just to help out, whether it's a small move or a big move. What would you do first?
If it was me, I would really looking at what contract you can try to move off of, as well as see on that reserves. I see a couple of people now that I know that probably not going to really be playing that much. I've been trying to see if you could have maybe moved off of some of them, sent them more toward maybe a rebuilding team, and see what you can snag out of that wise. But there's some things you can still do with this roster. It just depends on who you talking to around the NBA. And I'm not for sure they're going to still try to keep D'Lo or not, or try to move off of him as well. He still might can find some suitors who might be interested in him.
The only one they can't trade as of now they can't trade LeBron because he just signed a new deal. And then also as well, Max Christie, they cannot trade until January. Those two players are the only players that can't trade away right now as far as the main body of people that you would be traded off. So where would you go to first?
If it was me, I know a lot of Laker fans really love Austin Reeves, but that's be one person I would consider. Depending on what you can get, I would look into shopping Austin and D'Lo, seeing what you can get for those two. Because Austin is still very popular to a lot of teams out there. I think we'd really be willing to make a move if Austin was involved, and maybe if you threw Rui up in there, and that might sweeten the deal up a little bit too. And I'm not sure how many draft picks you guys got left, but if you got some draft picks, maybe throw that in as well. But to me, Austin Reeves is to me the most attractive piece out of that starting five that I think could probably move without no problem.
If the Lakers had or had not, or had they offered Austin Reeves in a trade, I know you and I discussed this before with DeJounte Murray involved, would you have been more inclined to go after something like that, a package deal for Austin Reeves, than what you got from New Orleans?
I definitely would have. I would have loved to have had Austin Reeves in Atlanta, especially that energizes just for the city and a fresher air for the whole city. So I would have loved to have Austin. I would have made that trade.
Stone, let me bring you back in here. So Legend has brought in his thoughts, really excellent thoughts, and truly appreciate it. Stone, you also have a very keen basketball eye. Where would you go from here? You're coming to this. Some people would say it's a mess. Some people would say it's a challenge. Some people would say it's right where we want to be. You're coming in there with your thoughts on it. Where would you turn to next?
Yeah, well, the roster itself is not actually a mess in terms of the assets that are on it. It's a mess in terms of the on-court play, having so few defenders and ball handlers, but it's not a mess in terms of the value you can retain for these guys. The problem now is the Lakers have put themselves in a situation where 29 other teams now know that they have to make a trade. They have zero leverage in any talks. They're operating over the second apron, and it's they're going to have to use picks that the other Reds wouldn't have to in order to get off of deals. I would anticipate that Rob probably doesn't want to. He's been very adamant on not wanting to spend picks. And I think the only move we probably see is getting rid of those lower salary guys like Hayes or Reddish or Wood with a couple seconds attached and just salary dumping to get under that second apron. But if there is a trade in terms of, getting some players that actually add value to this roster rather than just trying to get off of money, the short list that I have would be Cam Johnson is someone I'm very interested in for the Lakers. And I would do it if it involves one first-round pick. It seems like Pelinka is not interested in doing that. I would do that. If you can get Cam Johnson with one first-round pick and whatever salary, whether it's Rui or Gabe and a couple minimum guys, whatever the case may be, or Gabe in Vando, I would do that because you don't have really, you hardly have any two-way players, and to me, Cam Johnson is one of them. The other guy I would look at would be Darius Garland. I don't know how available these guys are, but he's someone I'd be interested in. You would not be able to get him without Reeves. And I agree with Legend that I would include Reeves in talks because that is your best asset. And to me, there's not a whole lot more to squeeze out of Reeves that he can get to. And I think we've seen, as good as it's going to get with him. I would look to see what else is out there. I think that I would have zero interest in Jeremy Grant. That contract is amongst the worst in the league. And the fact that you would have to – Portland is smart, and they know that they would be asking for picks. I would be asking picks from Portland in most cases, but they know that the Lakers are stuck between a rock and a hard place, and now they are going to be asking for first-round picks. I would not add any picks to bring in Jeremy Grant. I think Wendell Carter Jr. is an interesting big. Obviously, Brook Lopez has talked about. Brook Lopez won't happen because, from what I know, the Bucks will only entertain offers if it includes Austin Reeves. That's not going to happen from the Lakers side. Wendell Carter Jr. is someone that is on a pretty good contract, solid center that I think plays really good schematic defense. If you could get him, I would include 1 first-round pick for him. So there's a couple guys. If you can split your picks, I think that's the best route to bring in rotation guys. You split 1 pick for Cam Johnson, 1 pick for Wendell. Then I think you have a decent-looking rotation that's better than last year. I would not be throwing my picks, though, just to make a trade. And I think it'd be foolish for Rob to do that. I don't know how pressured he is into doing that. But I would not be throwing both picks at someone just to make a deal like a Jeremy Grant. That's sort of where I am, though. And honestly, I don't really see us doing anything outside of shedding back-end salary to get under that second apron, because teams know now that we're desperate, and they're going to ask for everything that we have to try and, for us to ask for their help. So they put us in a poor position, and it's a really difficult hole to get out of if your goal is to improve this season. The goal shifted now from improving the roster to spending less money. And that is not a pivot that I think they anticipated, and it's not something that anybody really wants.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Stone Hansen at report_court, plus also the Upside Swings NBA Draft Podcast. Also as well, of course, the Legend 350 at the Legend 350, the _Legend 350 on YouTube, plus Joe Soros here, Simblades with a Y.com, Ox 1947 himself. Joe, answer this question from Big Mike on the Super Chat. And thank you so much for giving us a Super Chat. Truly appreciate you doing so. Any contribution really helps us out here at the Lakers Fast Break. He said, would you guys trade Rui, D'Lo, and Gabe for LaVine with or without a pick? Now, I personally said in the past, I would take LaVine only with picks coming my way. In addition, do you think the center that went to the Wizards, Jonas Valanciunas, would have helped us? Your thoughts on both those questions, Joe. Very good, Big Mike. Very good questions.
Yes, absolutely. Valanciunas was the player I wanted in the offseason. The problem is there's no way LeBron would have taken a $22 million hit for him, which I understood that. He would have had to have come for the 5.5, or they need to set up a sign and trade. The problem is they would have had to have given up draft capital, which that's just not going to happen for Valanciunas. But as far as the trade to Chicago, well, today that I had mentioned last night about a trade that I would do for Zach LaVine, because you're in a position where you have to make something work. Zach LaVine's contract runs out, at least at that time last night, I thought was going to run out at the same time LeBron was going to run out, because I was under the assumption that LeBron was going to sign a 3-year deal for $162. He signed a 2-year for $102, which means you're probably not going to want LaVine past LeBron's 2 years. So that trade goes away. Now I don't want that trade. Can't happen, because Zach LaVine has a player option on that 3rd year, and you're not going to be able to trade that contract, even though it would be expiring, unless you give up draft capital, likely at that time, because I'm anticipating that this schlepper that's at the GM will still be there, and he won't know what the hell he's doing. And so the Lakers, in a funny way, that LeBron, and this is such a perfect example of LeBron. LeBron does equally good and bad at the same time. And his last contract did that. His last contract actually did that. It now eliminated the Zach LaVine trade. I know he's not going to likely be the guy that we need, but it was the 1% shot versus the 0% shot right now. So as far as the deal, as far as answering the question, no. And they would have to throw more than one first-round pick our way. And that first-round pick cannot be a top 14 protected type pick. I even said I don't even want top 8. It's got to be a top 5. Hell, even top 3 if you're going to take on that salary. Because next year's draft is going to be very good, and I don't think Chicago's going to be bad enough to fall to the 3. I think they could, but I don't think that's going to happen according to what they have right now and what they will have later. So yeah, it's every day every day it's a step forward and 2 steps back. That's what the Lakers have done. Every day it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back, which means at some point they're going to just keep getting worse in that process. I don't see what's going to happen right now that would help. They're talking about getting Kuzma. And by the way, folks, I'm going to say this again. If you're going to trade D'Angelo Russell, because I keep seeing so many trade options where his name is in there, you trade D'Angelo Russell and you will guarantee 0 playoffs next year, because you will not get a point guard in return anywhere that can do what he does, both shooting and being a point guard. And then you're going to put LeBron in a position where he's playing point guard again after playing in the Olympics, after playing with no talent again around them other than Anthony Davis and a few
Nearing
other
40 years old.
Nearing 40 years old. And if you think Gabe Vincent's going to be your point guard, well, folks, your delusion continues, because there's still so much delusion out there in the sports world about what this team will be, because they're all fixated on the reality show that this team has become. Michael Thompson. I wouldn't say he's a Laker legend, but he's a Laker. He's a Laker favorite. He's a Laker. He's a Laker by blood. He couldn't convince his own son to come to the Lakers. You tell me. You sit there and you watch what we're saying over these last few weeks, and you sit there and tell us that we're delusional, we're haters, we're not talking straight, we're not being optimistic enough. His own father couldn't convince him to come to LA when they were willing to pay him $480 on top of that, by the way. So, yeah.
The Lakers of old of being the coolest thing around is gone. There is no edge that the Lakers have anymore. Southern California is no longer enough to just bring in an agent on its own, and the money's not enough. The Lakers brand is not enough anymore, because it's just as much as anything as the Milwaukee Bucks or the Timberwolves. There's no brand or aura behind it. It's all gone, and it's non-existent, and that's what we relied upon to bring a lot of bigger free agents in the past. Now we can't do that, and we don't have a good negotiator to be able to do it. So the Lakers are stuck with playing C's and D's.
And that is part of the problem, because the Lakers now have to scramble. Legend, let me get you back into this as far as what your thoughts are. Again, I love the fact that you're able to provide maybe take a person that's taking a step back and seeing this from an outside perspective. Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. Huge crowd. Cannot thank you enough for supporting us here at the Lakers Fast Break. If you like what you see, we're here over 300 days a year. Please like and subscribe to get the latest notifications on when we go live with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. Joe and I may even do a nightcap. I may talk about a nightcap tonight. We'll wait and see. But the Legend, let me ask you this. When it comes right down to it, the Lakers, they're over the cap. They haven't made any serious upgrades as of yet. There still is a lot of players out there that can marginally help you out, but also some trade fodder that you can also go ahead and work with as well. You follow the Warriors and the Hawks. I know the Warriors and the Hawks, they're not done with building their teams as of yet. The Hawks have a lot of players, for instance, as far as Hunter's name and also as well Capella have been talked about as far as trying to get off those contracts. How serious are the Hawks in trying to get off some of these contracts to let these younger guys like Ricochet, also as well Okongwu, give them opportunity and minutes that they haven't been getting, and in case the Ricochet just starting out?
Yeah, they're definitely serious about trying to move some things around. I just found out not a few minutes ago on my phone that they're still looking to trade Trae Young, and they're talking to Utah Jazz right now. So they're still trying to move off of people's contract, and Clint Capella is looking on the move as well. So it's just like a total rebuild, and they're building around our number 1 draft pick. It looks like that's the direction that the team wants to go.
Okay. So again, it's something, but it's something real out there because Capella, you still got 20 plus million on a contract for the final year. Plus DeAndre Hunter has just never, ironically, a Lakers draft pick that was sent immediately to, Atlanta in a trade. But DeAndre Hunter never really could get over the injuries and fill out any of the promise that he had with the Hawks. So I could see you guys trying to get off those contracts, and maybe the Lakers could be willing and interesting parties. Joe, let me bring it back to you. Big Mike, once again, another great question. Will LeBron get the Lakers to draft his other son at 42 years old? I know that's something that the contract won't allow for right now. He'll have to add on another year for. But what are your thoughts on that, my friend? If Bryce becomes a possibility to play alongside with.
I doubt it.
Okay. Because I've mentioned this in the past. It's a possibility. I just wanted to hear your thoughts.
I'm hearing Bryce is worse than Bronny these days. So, no.
Okay.
Comfortably worse. Like, they're not in the same tier of prospects. And if you thought Bryce was a bad prospect, Bronny was a bad prospect, Bryce is way worse. People just like him more because he's taller. But I think this is LeBron's last year. The Lakers have given him no reason to continue playing. He gets to fulfill his wish of playing with Bronny for a year. What else does he need? At that point, I don't think Bryce is making the NBA. And what else does he have to play for? I mean, he can keep playing. He's at the level he can keep playing, but at this point in his life and his stage in his career, I don't really see him requesting a trade to move across the country when he's established everything in LA. And there's nothing left for him. So I don't see him playing past this year. There's nothing left for him. And once he goes out, why would AD want to stay? I think the Lakers are. I think the Lakers know what they're doing, and they're subtly pushing out LeBron and AD sooner rather than later so they can start their rebuild. And they don't want to admit it by trading both of those guys. That's sort of like, for anyone that's worked at, some of a minimum wage place and they cut your hours because they want you to quit. Seems similar to that. I think Lakers are making moves on the timeline that they want to operate on, not what the players want. And they don't want to get rid of the players because they want to treat their stars great. That's their brand. But they're slowly pushing these guys out sooner rather than later because they want to start the rebuild. And they just don't want to do it by moving these guys because that goes against everything they've done with stars in the past.
So I'll leave it with you, Joe, for some final thoughts. And then if you want, we could go on later tonight with more reflection on a nightcap if you want. Your thoughts on a day of, deals with the James gang, with the James family, with both LeBron and Bronny signing. Like you said, it's going to be one big happy family for a year, for a season. A lot of Kodak moments and all that. That's great. But will it amount to anything substantial for the Lakers as far as a winning season for this team?
No, it's going to be bad. I think Bronny James will play very, very little. And when he does play, it'll be bad. I'm just waiting to see what happens when he does get cooked and how JJ Redick reacts. JJ Redick has a little fire in him. So is he going to be one of those guys that will force this due to LeBron's relationship, and will he finally get fed up with it? That's what we have to look forward to. I am not looking at Bronny and LeBron playing together as anything other than a sideshow. It's an exhibition. That's all it is. I'm not taking that seriously. And if I'm a coach in the NBA, I am slaughtering anytime Bronny's on that floor.
You're targeting him.
I am slaughtering him. And I want my players looking at LeBron while they do it, because it's his fault that he's getting slaughtered.
And on that note, before we head on out, Stone, I want to actually bring it to you. Your thoughts on this?
That's how I would do it, guys. That's how I do it, because you cannot. This is competition. This is about winning. Professional athletes cannot be duplicated. You can't just put, anyone can be an office manager. Anyone can be a UPS driver. And I know that's an insult to a lot of people out there that are office managers and UPS drivers. It's not, folks. I can go apply to be an UPS guy right now. Can I go apply to be an NBA player or an NFL player or a Major League Baseball player? This is a unique group of people on the planet that can play this sport at this level. And when you compromise that for a feel-good story, when you're the LA Lakers especially, and when you have a owner that is so pathetic at her job, it continues to add more anger to the situation. And then you've had those hints from Rob Pelinka and her in the last few years. It's not, these guys haven't been running this in the last few years. This has been going on for a while. At what point do we keep dealing with this? I'm fed up. I am fed up with this ownership and this general manager. They don't know what they're doing, and they're not solving the problem. They blamed it on Jim Buss. They blamed it on Mitch Kupchak. They're the same, if not worse. At least Mitch Kupchak, for 20-plus years, did some things. He brought in Paul Gasol. He brought in Trevor Ariza. He did the CP3 trade before the veto. He was doing his job with a lot of negativity, even from Kobe, even Shaq talking smack, saying, I got Carl and Gary Payton here. Yeah, that's an insult. Why would you do that to Mitch? Mitch is a mild-mannered guy who's got a lot of fire in him. He's got competition in his blood as well. He never said anything. He was all class, right? But he actually did stuff. And we sit here and we still make fun of Mitch for 2 transactions on his way out, which I still have a little bit of a feeling that it was a FU to the team. And now we know why. Because now we want to tell these guys FU. So we're going to watch. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to watch because of our people, because of the people on the show, because of you guys. I'm going to watch this, whatever the hell you want to call this thing. And I'm not going to come back and say, I told you so. That's Gerald's job. I'm not going to tell you I told you so, because I tell you guys what's going on anyways. It's just what some of us do here. And it's not you shouldn't be surprised that they're in this predicament, because they're too busy focusing on Father knows best over here. That's what this team is focused on. They're focused on how can we make LeBron look good and his family time on our dollar, on our eyes, on our cable bills, our satellite bills, our tickets, our time. Good luck.
Are we up for a nightcap tonight, maybe, Joe?
I'll let you know in a few hours.
Okay, sounds good. But before we head on out, Stone and the Ledge, I want you to comment on this. Robert Rockley sent in a note on another potential trade target. I know that this name has been bandied about. Jeremy Grant. A lot of people talk about him. I've quoted myself as saying it's one of the worst contracts in the NBA. But good question, Robert. What do you think about a package deal involving Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons? Stone, I'll start with you first.
No, I don't think we could get both. And again,
a lot of money. That's a lot. That's $54 million, just to let you know.
Yeah, we could get both, but it would be like Rui, D'Lo, Reeves. Vando, Gabe. It'd be like half our roster. So, but to get just Grant, and the other thing too is we can't make any trades until we. I don't know if you know this, Gerald. Are we operating before? Because LeBron hasn't signed his contract. He doesn't sign until the 6th, which is in a few days. Are we operating still as a over the second apron team, or do we still have?
We're technically still under the second apron right now until he
because he hasn't signed it. Yeah.
Yes. Once all the
Okay.
contracts are signed, we're officially a second apron team.
Gotcha. So they got, if they want to make a trade, it's going to have to be within the next couple of days here.
Yep.
Yeah, with Grant, no interest. His contract is too big. He would be probably our third best player on this team. For how much longer, I don't know. He's 30, and he has a game that relies heavily on his length and athleticism. He was really awesome to begin his career in Denver, OKC, when he was defensive oriented, and then when he wanted to become more of a ball handler and usage guy, a lot of those attributes sort of faded with that. Whether he could get back to there, he hasn't played that role in several years, so I don't know. But that contract is too long and too large for me to have interest in. I would, if I was getting picks with him, I'd be interested, but Portland wants picks to get him. And seems like the Lakers only want to send out one, which is still too much for me. But if they send out two, that would just be horrendous. So yeah, I don't have interest in Grant, and there's several other names I would target before I got to him.
Not on that contract, that's for sure, right, Stone?
Yeah.
Before you go, Stone, or before we go, are you guys at the Upside Swings doing any post-show podcasts regarding covering the draft or anything like that?
Possibly we will get to one. I don't know. Our lives are all in different places right now, so we might do one. If we do, you would see it on my Twitter at report_court, or if you are subscribed with Upside Swings, any audio place that provides podcasts, you'll see it in your feed if we do it. So I guess just be on the lookout for that.
And of course, it's _legend 350 on YouTube. Before you head on out, my friend, your thoughts. Are there any trade targets the Lakers should go for? I know that we had touching on it before, but have more time to think about. I mean, Jeremy Grant's name has been thrown out there. Is there anybody that you would really like to see the Lakers go for? Atlanta, Golden State, what have you? And then give everybody an update of what you're doing on your awesome channel as well.
At this point, I would just see who you can find, maybe for the cheap at this point. Just like Stone said, Jeremy Grant, that contract is horrible. I'll run away from that contract. I just don't do it. I'm not for sure what's really left out at this point other than Zach LaVine. His contract is pretty bad. DeRozan, I mean, it's okay, but it's not the greatest fit, especially when you can't really shoot a three-point shot like that well.
Yeah.
At this point, I might well say just run it back and see what you can do at the trade deadline. But just ain't that much out there. A lot of the best pieces is off the books now, off the market. And for anyone, I do a lot of anime game content on my channel, so feel free to check me out. Talk a lot of sports. Did a sport podcast earlier today. I go in between gaming and sports mostly.
Well, there you go. At _legend 350 on YouTube. Please subscribe today like you can with ours. Like and subscribe. We had a big crowd tonight. Wanted to make sure these guys got all their plugs in. Again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. If Joe says it, we'll come back to you later tonight with a nightcap. Tomorrow, we may have a show. I'm not sure for the July 4th holiday, but definitely we'll come back by Friday. That's for sure. But definitely looking forward to seeing what you have to say out there. Please keep those comments rolling. Please like and subscribe to everything that we're doing. And again, the Lakers do sign LeBron James to a 2-year, second-year player option, $104 million contract agreement. Actually, he'll sign it on the 6th, like Stone said. And also as well, Bronny James Jr. signed a 4-year deal, 4th-year team option for just under $8 million. Plus, the Lakers also hired Scotty Brooks and Nick McMillan as assistant coaches. Lakers, if they stick to what they're doing, will be a little bit over the second apron, so they'll have to make some moves, and we'll make sure we follow all those moves and make sure we keep in touch with you in regards to what the Lakers and the NBA is doing each and every day we can right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.